This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, so welcome to the Easthampton Historical Commission meeting on Wednesday, March 9th. It's 6:35 and the meeting is called to order. First item on the agenda is public speak. Beverly?
Sandy.
This is Beverly Wadika, and I wanted to bring up the article that was in the Gazette today about the library and the fact that they may want to do something else for a library, and what the issue would be is to how to preserve the library.
Mm-hmm.
I think the committee that is thinking about this should know that the library is on the register, is on the historic register, and that I don't know if we should get involved in what they're doing.
So for some other sort of, I didn't read the article in the Gazette, so I don't know what was stated, but the CPA did fund to the tune of $15,000 to help to provide support for the city to in the library to work towards getting a historic preservation restriction put on the library building and or grounds.
Right.
And so that process is starting imminently. It's being sort of run through the planning department. I'm taking lead on that. And we just got the funding approval a few days ago. So, the idea would be that we would work with the library to get the historic preservation restriction, starting with a memorandum of understanding between the library, the city, and whichever organization is actually going to hold the restriction, which if it's a city organization, it would be the Historical Commission. So there would be involvement on the Historical Commission's part as that process goes forward. And if it's not the city, then we'd be looking to another nonprofit with a historic preservation as its,
Raison d'etre.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. The city can't hold its own preservation restrictions. But it's not a city building. It's currently owned by the Public Library Association of Easthampton. So there's no conflict there. But if discussions were that the city were interested in purchasing the building, which I don't think there is any interest on behalf of the city, then we wouldn't also be able to hold the restriction. If that makes sense. So I don't know, Beverly, if that answers your question as to whether or not they need to be apprised of the importance of the building, because I think
They're already apprised of that.
And we're working towards putting it officially putting on a preservation restriction.
Okay, and the other building I'm concerned about is the one that's for sale now, where the massage school was.
Yep.
I know I was on the building reuse committee when there were several buildings in town that were going to be decommissioned, including the town hall, that building, the old superintendent's building, which is diagonally across from the library. And I do believe that there were historic restrictions put on that building when it was sold.
I did look into this a week or a month ago. There's nothing official for Memorial Hall in the terms of historic preservation restrictions. There was when the building was sold, there was a resolution by the city council at the time that was recorded with the deed, and the resolution of the basically says that the buildings being sold with the understanding that the owner will not demolish the building and that will keep the important historical features and whatnot. But it's not binding on the owner and any subsequent owners in the way that a deed restriction is binding.
Well, I thought it was somehow binding into the future, that if they sold it, it still had to be historically preserved, that it couldn't be taken down.
That might have been the intent, but that is not the what was recorded. So there's no when the city sold the building, they did not keep a historic preservation restriction. They did not do anything to permanently protect the building when it was sold. There's just that motion, I guess, the understanding from the city council. So if there's more to it that I wasn't able to find, then that's but typically the historic preservation restrictions are pretty clearly designated in the Registry of Deeds.
I hadn't myself known that property was up for sale, and so thank you for pointing that out, Beverly. Also, not for nothing, but as soon as you said that, and I got to thinking about it, it occurs to me, the old D&D auto there. I bumped into them, it's been a few years now, before the pandemic, and I think it's fair to say that they will likely let go of that soon. And it's probably also fair to say that building is not likely to be preserved in its current form, barring us intervening in some way or something. Which means, aren't those adjacent parcels, Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be really more threatening than if only one came up at a time, if there's no restrictions or protections on that. And that couldn't be much more crucial to the nature of the town, the character of downtown, given its location.
Yeah, I thought the D&D building already was sold.
Was it? Uh-oh, I might be behind the times. That's
I know
possible.
that there was, I do recall it went up for sale, must be 2019 now.
That might be right about the time, yeah. So that could be, I might have just not known it.
I ran into a actually former student, but I'm trying to remember when. And she was saying they had bought it and they were going to renovate it and have some sort of a dog thing there. Right.
It reminds,
but I don't know whether that was right now. I can't tell you when that was, whether it was within the last year or 2 years ago. So it could be that it was for sale again. I don't know.
It also makes me sadly aware that when it came up that I was a member of the Historical Commission, they were suggesting, I think, that they had materials we might likely be interested in. And now that's been quite a while, and I don't know. They may have moved on. I'm not sure. If you know any of them, I wonder if there's a way to reach out, because I'm just remembering this for the first time in years.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I'll have to see if I can. Jamie, can we come in and look to see who owns it now? Because I'm trying to remember who I talked to.
Is this the D&D or?
Yeah, the D&D.
Yeah, I'm just looking that up. I'm trying to look that up now. I did find a copy of that declaration, I guess, for the the massage school. And so it says, so this was attached to the deed when the city sold it to when the city sold the Memorial Hall. And it says that the motion approved by City Council, that, and then there's a bunch of guidelines for the sale. It says, sale guidelines. Since Memorial Hall is a building of significant historic statute and was built as Easthampton's first high school, dedicated August 29th, 1865, the completed project shall retain this historic structure's architectural significance or as similar to its original appearance as practical. No addition to the building shall be any closer to Northampton Street than the original footprint. No parking in front of the existing structure from the original footprint towards Northampton Street. And then unrelated, talking about purchase price and taxes and things like that. So,
But there should have been something about when they sold it too, that I can remember was part of the discussion. That's
yeah.
not in there.
Nope. It was subject to a utility easement. The deed itself just says, it's a typical deed, City of Easthampton for consideration paid and full consideration price granted to 1 Northampton Street Enterprises. And then that's it. And then a description of the land.
Hmm.
So it's unfortunate, but it is not officially protected.
That's unfortunate.
So,
because I remember that being part of the discussion at the time, that it was going to be protected into perpetuity. But
I mean, that might have been an intent, but it was not. That didn't happen, as far as I can tell.
Sounds like maybe something we should think about, just like the library.
Yeah, and it looks like D&D Auto was now it's owned by Thomas Boyle. Oh no, that's the wrong one. D&D Auto is owned by, it was sold in 2019 from Richard Thayer to Maple and North LLC.
Maple and North LLC.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. That was so I mean, so that one was sold in 2019. So I don't think it's going to be, I mean, unless it's going to be sold again.
we don't know who Maple and North is, right?
No, but I assume that is an address of some people in Northampton who are developers, or I don't know what Maple and North is, but it's not a business that I know of that has a lot of development, a lot of properties in development. So,
Okay.
Well, it makes me wonder even if there ought to be, should we think about having something that when certain properties come up that we would know? Because at the moment we're trying to be made aware if anybody intends to demolish or, significantly alter certain structures, I wonder if we should be thinking about being, certainly those downtown buildings, I would almost think might be good that we know whenever they're changing hands if we need to be doing anything to ensure that they're not just going to get turned into a fast food chain or something.
I think continuing to work on the demolition delay ordinance and getting that cleaned up would be probably the best way to protect properties that are not owned by the city and don't have owners who are willing to put on historic preservation restrictions.
Which reminds me, there was an article about Amherst's demo delay that was in the Gazette as well.
I saw that. I'm actually in touch with the planner in Amherst. Unrelated, but I saw he was mentioned. I've been in touch with him. So I may reach out to see what they're proposing and see how our ordinance stacks up. But I think that it's hard, if you don't have a willing partner and they're not taking, if they get CPA funds, we can require historic preservation restrictions as part of that process, a part of getting CPA funding. But if you're not getting CPA funding and it's private sale, then, unfortunately, the city missed an opportunity with the sale of Memorial Hall to permanently protect it. I assume that.
I think at the time it was sold, they didn't understand that there were these other restrictions that could be put on. I think they thought when it was put in the deed that it would go on. This was done quite a while ago.
Yeah, but the historic preservation restriction on Old Town Hall was drafted in 1998 or something like that, predating Memorial Hall. I think there was some people clearly knew about it. And my guess is that, similarly to, when the Parsons School was sold, that didn't have a historic preservation restriction on it. It just had a similar type of deed, like, we're accepting your proposal to buy the school and you're going to do this work. And if you're not going to be able to demolish it, but that was only as like a stipulation of the sale, not a stipulation of binding for forever, in perpetuity. And we'll be probably in the same situation when the city surpluses the elementary schools, where any time that historic preservation restrictions are added to properties, it makes the redevelopment and resale of those buildings really hard. Even though the intent is to keep them, sometimes it makes it a lot harder. So,
sure, which is where I feel like Ferry Street's been a success. So I think that was less about preserving something and more about encouraging them to
right.
Save what can be saved, and that seems to have worked out that way, as much as I know everything has its tweaks that could always be improved.
Yeah. So I don't know who's on is anyone here on the school building reuse committee? Okay. I thought one of the historic commission members were on it. Maybe Tracy is.
Yeah. Hope it's not me and I don't know it.
Yeah. So I don't know more. So I if there's more discussion, we can continue, or we'll go on to the next agenda item. So as approval of the minutes of January 12th. Did anyone have
any debate or discussion, or should I move we accept the meeting minutes?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-0. Okay. So the correspondence, I don't have anything. There was a Section 106 review request, which I think Mike can respond to as chair. And then there was this on the agenda as a historic sign program. So we got a request from a constituent to create a historic sign program. And I said I would bring it to the commission for discussion. So I think that we should have a more robust discussion than so I wouldn't want to necessarily come up with try to do a decision today, but I can update folks, or we can table it to another meeting.
The historic sign for particular areas or buildings or what?
The person was saying that we should make historic signs for the buildings on Union Street as part of the Union Street reconstruction project. And the one has nothing to do with the other. And the majority of the buildings are privately owned. So any program would necessarily require permission of the property owners, and then would require us to do a fair amount of research to create the wording for what that particular sign should say for each building. And then creating signs and affixing them to buildings, and the practicalities of that.
Was this person proposing any type of funding for this?
Nope.
Well, then I said, oh, sorry, Beverly.
Nor were they proposing that they would do the work.
Ah, okay.
They were just saying the city should do this thing.
Well, I suggest that, yes, that we table this until there is perhaps a more formal request and we have more committee members present.
Okay. Great.
Instead of hypotheticals. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else, or everyone?
I agree.
Okay. Great. Demo delay bylaw. So I tried to just send out a version of the bylaw that would be most, I guess it's a clean copy of the ordinance is proposed. So I know I didn't give you much time to take a look at it, so I apologize for that. And I don't know if there's how folks want to proceed on that, if we want to dig into it now, or wait till Mike also has a chance to weigh in on it.
I would like to wait because I just got it just before I signed in. So
yeah.
It would be nice if we had more of a chance to read it over.
Completely.
I'm happy to wait.
Okay. Well, then can I...
Is Tracy going to get this?
Yeah, Tracy was in the email as well.
Okay.
So maybe if in the next couple of weeks, if people have time to take a look at the demo delay ordinance and let me know what you think. You can respond individually.
Okay.
If you have any comments or track changes or anything like that.
Good. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
I'm sorry for getting it to you so late. It's been a bit crazy.
Please don't apologize. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And then New Haven Northampton Canal grant update. The PVPC and the communities have hired the the contractor, and they're still doing sort of startup work to get the project approved by Mass Historic as like what they're actually doing for survey work and architectural surveys. There's not architectural, archaeological surveys. And I think their plan is to start actually doing the survey work in the spring, as soon as the snow had melted, but as soon as the snow remelts, and
which is tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. I did not expect that today.
No. Pretty though.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so meeting schedule for 2022, Mike had sent that out. I don't know if there's any discussion about that.
Any chance we'll be meeting in person?
I don't know. Every time I've given you guys an update as to what I think is going on, I think I've been proven wrong. So the last I heard, we were supposed to switch over from Zoom to Google Meet by the end of March, and that City Council would be doing the initial test of having hybrid meetings, and that once City Council kind of figured out how to do hybrid meetings, then we would go into that for all the other boards and commissions later. I haven't heard any updates regarding that. I don't know where that process is at. So I just don't know what to say. If I think that there's an expectation that meetings will always be live on some sort of virtual live thing, in addition to being held in person. So I just don't know what the capabilities are right now of the city. So I'm sort of just waiting to be told from the the upstairs what we're doing. I hope soon, though. So is there anything else? The next meeting is scheduled for April 13th at 6:30.
Sounds good.
Got it?
This has been the most wildly efficient meeting ever.
Well, it helps when you just table everything.
Yes, that's right. We're very official here. So can I make a motion to end the meeting, or do we?
Please.
I make a motion to end the meeting at actually, I don't know what time it is actually. 7:04.
7:04. Yeah.
Thanks.
I second the notion Jamie should have a happy birthday.
Yes, have a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
Eat lots of cake.
I'll try. See what came home.
Uh,
All right. Well, in that case, the meeting is adjourned. If there's any other discussion.
You should stop recording and then.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.